everyone, I'm here to interview my tita who is a chemical engineer. So, Engineer De La Cruz, shall we start?
Yes, Janine.
So, why did you want to become a chemical engineer?
Actually, I don't want to study chemical engineering, but my father is the one who wants me to be a chemical engineer. So, since I was there already, I continue studying the chemical engineering.
Well, how long have you been a chemical engineer?
Actually, I graduated 1986 because I took the board exams first before I start working. And since then on, since 1986 up to present, that's my time of being a chemical engineer, working as a chemical engineer.
In what year did you graduate?
1983.
So, how do you define your work?
Actually, my work, since I started working as a production engineer. So, that was actually 1986 to 1988. So, and from being a production engineer for, I think for 5 years, I tried working as a sales engineer. So, right now, I am engaged in selling equipments for electroplating, which is also engaged in chemical engineering, in line with chemical engineering course.
What are the duties of a chemical engineer?
The duties of a chemical engineer, in my experience, right now, the duty of chemical engineering is more on field work. But you can also be in the laboratory works. Right now, I can be in field work and can be in laboratory works.
Do you have any idea on how many workers are engaged in chemical engineering?
Chemical engineering as a whole, you're asking? I think only 30% because, chemical engineering is very difficult. That's why only very few are taking up chemical engineering.
Do you still remember the scores you got in the test for employment selection?
Oh my God! I think I can no longer tell you the scores I got in working because I started working since 1986. So that's so long. That was already long time ago.
Just this. How did you prepare for you to get this occupation? What are your experiences in preparing for this occupation and before getting this occupation?
Actually, I did not prepare anything for entering into any occupation because when I started my work as a production engineer, I was trained how to do the job, and from then on, I already gained experiences on how to have the laboratory works or any field works.
You took a special training for this occupation?
In the beginning, I did not take any special training, but as time goes by, I need to have a special training, especially it is how should I say this? I did not take any special training because right now, with my experiences, I think I don't need the special training for that.
Oh, I see. Did you go through several methods before entering this kind of job?
Come again? Several methods before?
Did you go through several methods before entering this kind of job? Like apprenticeship, OJT?
I did not took any OJT because when you entered into laboratory works, you have to have experience also on how to deal with the work.
What were the requirements for you to get this occupation?
Of course, to have requirements. Of course, you have to be a board passer in this field because if not, you won't be getting any good attention from your managers or the superiors.
So how were this sa board examinations?
Oh my God. The board examinations is very difficult, but since the board exam really very difficult because it's more on organic chemistry, really very hard.
You find it really hard.
Yeah, really
Yet you
hard.
passed it.
Yes, only one time board exams.
Are there any lines of promotion of your occupation?
Length of promotion, but
Lines of promotion.
lines of promotion for, of course, in the office you have to be, you have to be promoted as a manager in the field of laboratory. That's all. You can be a manager for the laboratory works.
What are the opportunities for advancement of your occupation?
Opportunities of advancement. Of course, you can go abroad, especially if you are a board passer, and then you can also work as a chemist for government offices like the Pag-asa, or actually you can work everywhere as long as the job is suited for you.
How much time did it take for you to attain your skills in chemical engineering? Did you have a hard time on improving your skills?
Yes, actually I took at least 2 or 3 years to master my work as a chemical engineer, because I need to have experiences before I master this field of work. It took me 3 years to master this field.
Did you take other jobs that lead you to your present occupation? If yes, what are
Other jobs, actually, I mentioned a while ago, I started working as a production engineer, and then I think after 8 years, I tried working as a sales engineer, but also related to chemical engineering also.
How much do you think is the beginning wage rate that one might expect in being a chemical engineer?
The beginning wage pay is, I think, if you are a board passer or if you are a chemical engineer, of course you can have as a starting salary of at least 30,000. If you are a board passer, but if you are not a board passer, you can only have 15,000.
How about the wage range for the largest number of workers in this kind of occupation?
As I have said, the wage range, if you are a board passer, at least more or less,
You're talking in majority.
Majority. Okay, majority is 30 to 35,000.
What might be the maximum wage that one highly skilled chemical engineer would expect?
Okay, the highest, you're asking for the highest. It depends.
For the skilled engineers.
Okay, for the skilled chemical engineers, it depends on where are you going to work. Of course, if you are going to work on the government, you can be paid as high as 60,000. For a private, you can be paid as 70,000 or 80,000.
Are the age and the gender basis for determining the salary of a chemical engineer?
Not really. Of course, it depends on the work. If you are a female, you have to work in laboratory. But if you are a male, you are engaged in field works. No, not necessarily. There is a gender basis for the works. It depends on the work you are applying.
What are the regulations and benefits of a chemical engineer?
Benefits of a chemical engineer, because being a chemical engineer, of course, for me, my experience of being a chemical engineer, I was how should I say, I was The benefits, you're asking for the benefits of being a chemical engineer. Of course, you are being looked up as being a professional. So they cannot say anything against you because you are a professional chemical engineer.
How many hours a day are you working as a chemical engineer?
Since how many hours a day? I can work as 10 to 12 hours a day.
We all know that some chemicals are hazardous to health. As a chemical engineer, you are known for being exposed to such chemicals. What are the safety precautions that you are practicing before starting your work?
Before starting my work, in my experience, when I work as a laboratory chemist, I have to wear protective gloves, protective mask. I have to have also to wear laboratory gowns for safety precautions. Of course, the safety precautions you have to have. First is the mask for the hazardous chemicals, the gloves, and the laboratory gown.
What are the accident hazards in chemical engineering? Have you encountered one?
Actually, I haven't encountered one, but the accident hazards normally in chemical engineering, the spillage of chemicals. The spillage of chemicals, especially when you are working in the laboratory, that's the normal accident hazards in being a chemical engineer.
You are running a business in making chemicals, right?
Yes.
How many are your employees?
Right now we have only 10 employees.
Can you cite different typical places of employment for the chemical engineers?
Come again? What are
Typical places of employment.
typical places of employment? You can work in the field of food, in the field of drugs, in the field of rubber, plastics, anything, because almost all jobs here in the Philippines needs a chemical engineer.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of being a chemical engineer?
The advantage of being a chemical engineer, of course, most of our environment needs are related with being a chemical engineer. I don't see any disadvantage of being a chemical engineer. With my experience, I don't see any advantage or disadvantage of being a chemical engineer. Actually, since I said a while ago, only very few are taking up chemical engineering because that's very hard. So for me, for my experience, I am very grateful that I passed the board exams for the chemical engineering.
This is the last question. Do you have any advice for those who dream to be a successful chemical engineer like you?
My advice, okay, just a piece of advice for those who want to be or for those who want to take up chemical engineering. Of course, you have to have, you have to excel in chemistry, of course. That's number one. You have to excel in chemistry. Next is mathematics, and then I think that's all. That's my piece of advice, because if you are not if you really do not want to, or if you don't have any idea in chemistry, or if you do not love chemistry or mathematics, I think you cannot be successful chemical engineer.
Is that all?
Yes, that's all.
Thank you, Engineer.
Thank you, Janine.